Can I go to you first, as I touched on this voice referendum, corporate virtue signalling from big corporates. What did you make of the Qantas unveiling today, Barnaby?
Yeah, isn't it amazing what they're able to do with somebody else's money? Did they pass a resolution at the annual general meeting that they're going to use shareholders' money to basically indulge the views of the select group of people at the top of their corporate chain? The Australian taxpayer bailed out Qantas for billions of dollars during COVID. You just talk about COVID. And then Mr. Joyce, my namesake, has got a bonus. I think it was $10 to $20 million or something massive. I suppose that's for negotiating with the government of how the taxpayer should pay them money. And now they've, rather than using his own money, he's using shareholders' money to be the most enlightened in the appropriate dinner parties in the centre of Sydney. Well, all that does is annoy people. So you think it's advertising? So does the no case. It antagonises us.
Sam, do you reckon any big corporation that doesn't agree with the voice would be brave enough to put their head up?
I don't know.
You do know.
Look, I don't know.
You do know.
No, I don't.
The answer is no, they wouldn't.
I imagine the answer is no, but I also imagine there's not terribly many if you look through the patterns of who's supporting the voice, I hate to say it, which is the part I'm struggling with, and Barnaby has kind of got me on this, that, in Sydney, in the boardrooms of Sydney, it is overwhelmingly popular. Now, that is... Barnaby's right, and that is not necessarily true amongst the rest of the community. I think the important thing for the Yes side about today's announcement isn't the side of the planes, and it's not the razzmatazz going on in the media. It's the conversations that are going to happen with the 25,000 Qantas workers. That's what I think the real value of getting these big corporates on.
So we're going to have flight attendants having welcome to country like we already do when we're on a Qantas flight. Are they going to be walking up and down the aisle?
No, I'm not saying access.
Yes?
No, I'm not saying access to the passengers. I'm saying in the internal meetings of Qantas staff meetings. Yeah. I don't know this. I imagine that the HR departments will be rolling out information sessions, because that's the big thing that the Yes campaign needs to explain to people what the referendum's all about.
The staff.
Well, you can call it indoctrination. I call it educating them. It's educating people about what's actually on the ballot.
You sit in this whole
Caroline,
referendum.
Peter Dutton come out and say, I think 2 weeks ago, and I'll get you back in a sec, Barnaby, where he said that he's being told privately by board members of big corporations that they don't agree with this, but they're not prepared to say it publicly.
Oh, yeah, and I think that would be true on so many issues, Pricey, not just this, but, people want to virtue signal, and that's plainly what it is that Qantas is doing. And, I mean, if you look at what happened to their share price today, the shareholders themselves are clearly saying no to this because their share price fell down by the end of the day. So it's not popular. I think most passengers that fly with Qantas would rather they just get their flights on time, stop cancelling flights, and maybe put the money that they're spending on this towards bringing down the cost of fares, which is so expensive, rather than this sort of empty virtue signalling that's going to make no difference to the vote. It's only going to annoy people.
To the Peter Dutton point, I mean, some business person sitting in his office saying, "Oh, I fully support you, Peter, but I just can't say anything." I mean, come on.
But Barnaby,
consider the source.
You've been at the pointy end, Barnaby. Have you had directors of companies, chairmen, CEOs say one thing to your face and then publicly say entirely a different thing when they're trying to sell a different story?
And did you believe them when they said it, Barnaby?
What always amazes me is how matey they are with you when you're in government. Oh, you can't get them off the phone there. Hail fellow, well met, Barney, let's go have a beer. Oh, Barney, I'm just like you, Barney. As soon as you lose the election, it's almost like they delete your number.
Did your invitations dry up as well?
Yeah, I mean, expect that. There's bibs and carpetbaggers. And what I worry about is the staff. Like Alan Joyce, that might be your view. You should say yes 23, as says Alan and some of his mates on the board, and we'll have a GT at your favourite restaurant later on. But this is now inspired on your staff members. So, same with Bunnings. A lot of the Bunnings staff members, overwhelmingly, I'd say a majority, not overwhelming, a majority would be no voters. And this says you must think like us, groupthink. You will think like us. Well, people do think, and they've thought about it quite a lot, and they've come to the considered view that with the lack of detail, with a new racial clause coming into our constitution, with a selected, not elected body having a right over the role of the executive of our nation, they've come to a considered view, and the considered view is no, they're not going to support it.
Caroline, I just wonder what would happen if you did a snap poll of Bunnings staff or the Qantas crew.
Look, I'm there enough because my toddler son is absolutely obsessed with Bunnings, so I will report back on that.
I had great service there. I went there last Friday. You know those gas heaters you can buy, the round stubby ones? I can't put anything together, so I got them to put it together for me. That was brilliant. I didn't ask them about the voice.
Oh, no. And who would get their information from a Qantas staff member or a Bunnings staff member?
Well,
You're not exactly going to be asking. But I think there's 2 points remaining to be made here. Is one, we need to ask questions about Qantas's relationship with the government. They've already managed to have a voice themselves in not allowing another airline, a competitor, Qatar, to have more flights coming into the country.
Yeah.
And they've just given access, Chairman's Lounge access to Mr Albanese's son. I mean, on what basis was that given? We have to ask questions about that. To your point, Pricey, about why aren't companies brave enough to say they might be going the other way, I think there's some courage now in the companies that are saying we're not going to take any political stance, like Virgin has done today when they were asked the question.
So are you interpreting it if a company doesn't support Yes, that they're not necessarily saying no?
Well, I think that if they were going to say yes, they're going to say yes. If they're saying we're not taking a stance, they're saying we don't want to have a role in political grandstanding.